3 things weak men do every day. Stop before it's too late. Most men believe weakness is obvious. They imagine a weak man as someone who lacks discipline, ambition, or courage. Someone who gives up easily. Someone who never even tries. That's the image most people carry in their minds. But Marcus Aurelius understood something far more dangerous. Real weakness almost never looks like weakness. It hides behind ordinary decisions that seem completely harmless. It begins with one excuse, one comfortable choice, one promise you quietly postpone until tomorrow. Nothing dramatic happens. You don't suddenly become a different person. You still wake up, go to work, talk to your friends, and continue living what appears to be a normal life. That is exactly why so many men never notice what is happening. Weakness doesn't arrive like a storm. It grows like a shadow. Slowly, patiently, silently. Every day, your character is shaped by choices so small that most people ignore them. You tell yourself you'll start next week. You'll train tomorrow. You'll have that difficult conversation another time. You'll become more disciplined when life gets less stressful. Each excuse feels reasonable. Each delay feels temporary. Yet every compromise leaves a mark on the person you're becoming. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself that a man's life is shaped not by what happens around him, but by the judgments and choices he makes every single day. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1, he prepares himself for difficult people before the day even begins. Why? Because he understood that strength is never built during the moment of crisis. It is built beforehand, through the quiet discipline of the mind. The frightening truth is that almost every man believes the habits making him weaker are harmless. They don't feel dangerous because they don't produce immediate consequences. They slowly erode confidence. They quietly weaken discipline. They gradually replace courage with comfort until one day a challenge finally arrives, and the man discovers he is no longer the person he believed himself to be. Today, we're going to expose the 3 mistakes that quietly make men weak. Not to shame you, not to make you feel guilty, but to help you recognize them while there is still time to change. Because once you can see them, they lose their power over you. And the first mistake is far more common than most men will ever admit. Mistake 1. Comfort becomes your identity. Most men believe comfort is a reward. They tell themselves they've earned the right to relax after a difficult day. There is nothing wrong with rest. Even the Stoics understood the importance of recovery. The danger begins when comfort stops being something you visit and becomes the place where you live. Weakness is rarely created by one bad decision. It is created by hundreds of comfortable ones. Every time you choose distraction instead of purpose, entertainment instead of effort, or convenience instead of growth, you reinforce the same message inside your mind. Avoid what is difficult. At first, it feels harmless. You scroll for another 10 minutes. You postpone your workout until tomorrow. You tell yourself today isn't the right day to begin. None of these choices seem significant on their own. But your brain is always learning. It doesn't judge whether a habit is helping or hurting you. It simply records what you repeat. Marcus Aurelius understood that the human mind naturally seeks comfort because comfort requires very little effort. That is precisely why reason must lead your actions instead of your emotions. A disciplined man does not ask himself what feels easiest. He asks himself what is right. The body constantly searches for pleasure. The mind must decide whether that pleasure deserves to be followed. Modern life has turned comfort into a product. Endless entertainment, endless scrolling, endless distractions competing for your attention every second of the day. None of them announce themselves as enemies. They present themselves as harmless breaks, innocent rewards, or quick escapes from stress. Yet every unnecessary escape weakens your ability to face discomfort the next time it appears. Think about the strongest people you've ever admired. They were not defined by extraordinary moments. They were defined by ordinary decisions repeated for years. They trained when they didn't feel like training. They studied when nobody was watching. They kept going after the excitement disappeared. Their strength wasn't built by motivation. It was built by refusing to let comfort become their identity. One of the greatest lies modern culture teaches men is that happiness comes from making life easier. The Stoics believed the opposite. They believed that a meaningful life is created by willingly accepting the challenges that help shape your character. Every difficult task completed makes the next one slightly easier. Every difficult task avoided makes the next one slightly harder. Remember this whenever you're tempted to choose the easier path. Comfort doesn't destroy your future in one day. It quietly convinces you there's always another tomorrow. That is how years disappear. Not through tragedy, but through delay. And once comfort begins controlling your choices, something even more dangerous starts to happen. You stop breaking promises to the world. You begin breaking promises to yourself. That is where the second mistake begins. Mistake 2, you negotiate with yourself. There is a conversation happening inside your mind every single day. Most men barely notice it. It doesn't sound dramatic. It doesn't demand attention. It appears as small, reasonable compromises that seem completely harmless. I'll wake up earlier tomorrow. I'll start on Monday. Just this once. I deserve a break. Every sentence feels logical. Every excuse sounds believable. That is exactly why this habit is so dangerous. Most people think weakness begins when you fail. It doesn't. Weakness begins the moment you start negotiating with your own principles. Every time you promise yourself that you'll do something and then quietly decide not to, something invisible happens. You don't simply postpone a task. You teach your own mind that your word has no value. Think about that for a moment. If someone repeatedly broke every promise they made to you, how long would it take before you stopped believing them? Not very long. Yet many men do exactly that to themselves for years. They promise to exercise. They don't. They promise to read. They don't. They promise to stop wasting time. They don't. Little by little, the relationship they have with themselves begins to collapse. This is why so many people struggle with confidence. They believe confidence comes from success. Marcus Aurelius understood something deeper. Confidence comes from integrity. It comes from becoming the kind of man whose actions consistently match his decisions. Every promise you keep strengthens your authority over yourself. Every promise you break weakens it. Discipline is not built inside a gym. It is not built inside a motivational seminar. It is built in ordinary moments, when nobody is watching, and you choose to obey your own word instead of your temporary emotions. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that reason must lead every action. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1, he prepares his own mind before the day begins, refusing to allow emotions, comfort, or other people to dictate his conduct. He understood that self-government always comes before leadership. Modern culture encourages constant negotiation. Listen to how you feel. Wait until you're motivated. Don't push yourself too hard. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Your feelings deserve to be acknowledged. They do not deserve to become your leader. A disciplined man does not ask himself whether he feels like doing what is necessary. He asks whether it is the right thing to do. Once that decision is made, the negotiation ends. That is why mentally strong men appear calm under pressure. They are not constantly debating with themselves. The decision has already been made, and every time they follow through, they strengthen the most important relationship they will ever have, the relationship with their own character. Because the day your own mind stops believing your promises, every challenge becomes heavier than it really is. And when that happens, many men begin searching for something outside themselves to fill the emptiness they created within. That is where the third mistake quietly takes control. Mistake 3. You live for other people's approval. There is a moment when a man quietly gives away his freedom. It does not happen when someone insults him. It does not happen when he fails. It happens the moment he allows another person's opinion to become more important than his own character. Most men never notice when this begins. At first, it feels completely normal. You hesitate before speaking because you're worried about how you'll sound. You avoid making a difficult decision because someone might disagree. You stop pursuing something meaningful because you're afraid of looking foolish if you fail. Little by little, your life is no longer guided by your principles. It is guided by invisible audiences that exist inside your own mind. What will they think? Will they approve? What if they judge me? That single question has stolen more dreams, more confidence, and more peace than almost any obstacle life can place in front of a man. The tragedy is that most of the people whose approval you desperately seek are too busy worrying about their own lives to think about yours. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than almost anyone. As emperor, he was surrounded by criticism, praise, betrayal, and admiration. If he had allowed public opinion to dictate his actions, he would have spent every day reacting instead of leading. Instead, he constantly reminded himself that the only judgment capable of defining his life was the judgment of his own character. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1, he prepares himself to meet difficult, selfish, and unreasonable people before the day even begins. Why? Because he knew their behavior should never determine his own. Their opinions belonged to them. His character belonged to him. Today, seeking approval has become easier than ever. Every notification, every like, every comment, every comparison on social media quietly teaches men to measure their worth through the eyes of strangers. Without realizing it, they stop asking, "Is this the right thing to do?" and begin asking, "Will this make people like me?" That is the moment strength begins to disappear, because the man who constantly needs applause will eventually become whatever earns the loudest applause. He no longer leads his own life. He performs it. The Stoics believed that real freedom begins when your values become stronger than your desire to be accepted. Not because other people's opinions are worthless, but because they should never become your compass. Remember this: the strongest man in the room isn't the one everyone admires. It's the one who no longer needs admiration to know who he is. When comfort no longer controls you, when you stop negotiating with yourself, when you stop living for approval, something remarkable begins to happen. You become a man whose strength no longer depends on circumstances, and that changes everything. Imagine meeting two versions of yourself 10 years from today. They look almost identical. They grew up in the same place, faced the same disappointments, carried the same fears, lived through the same difficult mornings. The difference between them isn't talent, it isn't intelligence, it isn't luck. One man spent years choosing comfort over growth. Every difficult task became tomorrow's problem. Every promise he made to himself became another promise he quietly broke. Every important decision passed through one question: what will other people think? He didn't become weak because life was unfair. He became weak because those 3 mistakes slowly became his identity. The other man looked ordinary too. He wasn't fearless. He wasn't born with extraordinary discipline. He simply refused to repeat the same mistakes. When comfort invited him to stop, he kept moving. When his mind tried to negotiate, he honored his word. When the world demanded approval, he followed his principles instead. day after day, week after week, year after year. There was no dramatic transformation, no single breakthrough, no moment where everything suddenly changed. His strength was built the same way a mountain is shaped, quietly, patiently, one decision at a time. Marcus Aurelius never asked how to look strong. He asked how to become a man whose character could not be controlled by comfort, excuses, or the opinions of others. That is why, centuries later, people still remember his words. Not because he ruled an empire, but because he first learned to rule himself. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1, he reminds himself that every day he will meet difficult people. He does not wish for an easier world. He prepares to become a stronger man. That is the Stoic way. It is not about controlling life. It is about controlling yourself before life has the chance to control you. So ask yourself one question before this day ends. Which of these 3 mistakes has been quietly shaping your life? The answer may be uncomfortable. Good, because growth has always begun where comfort ends. Weakness is not your identity. It is only a collection of repeated choices. And the beautiful truth is this: every choice can be replaced by a better one. Every habit can be rewritten. Every day gives you another opportunity to become the man you were capable of becoming all along. One day, people will describe you as disciplined, calm, resilient, mentally strong. They will assume you were born that way. They will never see the ordinary mornings, the difficult decisions, the promises you kept when nobody was watching, or the countless moments when you chose character over comfort. Perhaps that is exactly how it should be, because true strength never asks to be noticed. It simply remains standing long after everything else has fallen. If this message challenged the way you think, subscribe to the Discipline Code and join thousands of men who are building discipline, mental strength, and lasting character through the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. The next decision you make after this video may seem small. It isn't. It is the beginning of the man you will become.